हर तरफ फिक्र को दौड़ा के थकाया हमने कोई दीने मुहम्मद सा न पाया हमने.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, and welcome to Balance. Allah Almighty, in His infinite wisdom, has created the family as the foundation of society. Family spending time together nurtures positive behaviors, creates memories, promotes a healthy lifestyle, and relieves stress. Today's program will focus on why spending quality family time is important and even critical in order to create the essential strong bond and healthy relationships between family members. We will also discuss ways to make time for this very important activity. Joining me today are my guests, Maidah Ahmad Saiba. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
And Attiya Noor Tahir Saiba. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
So before we begin, let's go to the word on the street to hear more about what makes a strong family unit.
A strong family unit would be like us spending time together. So anytime that you're spending time with your family, just getting to know everybody on an individual level, I think that'll make you guys definitely connected a bit stronger, your connection a bit stronger, because you know your family members, you know what they like, you know what they don't like. And I think the more time that you guys spend together, the stronger that your unit can be.
By listening and by spending a lot of time with them, just making sure that we set aside time to be together.
Playing a game together, a board game, or even cooking together, baking together is not only quality time spent together, but also educational.
Certainly, spending time together is really the key to building those strong and lasting bonds. So as we've heard many times, they say the family unit is the building block of society. What makes it so?
Well, you're absolutely right, Munaza. Family really is the cornerstone of a healthy society. And back in April at the UK Waqfat Ijtama, Hazur Ayyadullah Ta'ala bin Nasrihil Aziz highlighted how the peace of a society is directly connected to peace within families. So, Islam recognizes this and promotes healthy family relationships at all levels. And research has also shown that our brains are intrinsically wired to socially connect with those around us, and that the absence of stable, loving family relationships early on in childhood can negatively impact a child's development. Whereas children who grow up in safe, supportive, loving family environments are more likely to reach their full potential and become positive contributors to society.
Absolutely, absolutely. Why is the family unit even more relevant in today's day and age?
You see, the time in which we are living, it is particularly unique because of the extent of external influences we are being bombarded with on a daily basis. So whereas before parents were the primary influences on a child's life, now from the ages of 11, 12 months, when a child first begins watching cartoons, their minds are being influenced from sources other than their parents. This, coupled with the fact that parents are spending less and less time with their children, has led to a situation where we are being influenced more from outside our families. Now, a prime consequence of this can be seen with relation to the brainwashing of Muslim youth, who in the majority of cases, they have come from non-religious backgrounds, but they have learned an extremely wrong and violent interpretation of Islam from the internet, and then they go on to commit terrorist acts.
Yeah, and that really does highlight the need for parental presence and to have that family unit in order to promote the child's development socially, psychologically, mentally, etc. So we're talking about building healthy relationships within a family unit, and that, of course, starts with the parent-child relationship. Parents, of course, have more of a role than just feeding and clothing a child. We have that unique opportunity to assert a positive influence, to instill some good core principles in our children. How does one begin to build that relationship? What are the key elements of this relationship?
Well, one thing that stands out for me is honesty. We need to be building honest relationships with our children. And by this, I mean we need to practice what we preach. Just recently, I read a famous novel called To Kill a Mockingbird, which is very often included within the school curriculum here in North America. Yes. Now, one of the main characters in the book is a lawyer called Atticus Finch. Now, although this book mainly deals with race relations in the US, what I found most interesting in the book was the reason that Atticus gives for his honesty, and that is that he wants to be a good father, he wants to be a good role model to his children. And he mentions throughout the book that if he does not live by the principles which he holds dear, then he will no longer be able to look his children in the eyes, and he will no longer be a good role model to his children. So for me, not only is Atticus this incredibly intelligent lawyer who's fighting racism within the States, but he is also an ideal father.
Absolutely.
Right, so Maidah, you mentioned honesty, and I think what goes hand in hand with this key element is good communication between family members. And Hazur Ayyadullah Ta'ala bin Nasrihil Aziz has related his own example in this regard about how his grandchildren feel so comfortable coming up to Hazur Ayyadullah Ta'ala bin Nasrihil Aziz with their questions and opinions and concerns. So Hazur Ayyadullah Ta'ala bin Nasrihil Aziz has created an open and trusting friendship in a way with his grandchildren. And I think that's the model that we need to follow. So we need to create a safe space where our children are not afraid to ask us questions or give their opinions.
Because if we're not there to answer them, then they're going to find those answers elsewhere, right?
Yes. Absolutely. And Hazur Ayyadullah Ta'ala bin Nasrihil Aziz has emphasized that young people should be encouraged to ask whatever is in their hearts.
Mm-hmm. You actually raise a very good point, because we do need to connect with our children, I feel, on their level. You know, we need to find out what their needs and interests are. And then when we're addressing them or engaging with them, really make them number one and give them our undivided attention. But on a practical level, you know, life is so fast-paced, and especially as mothers, sometimes we are engaging with our children, but we're kind of forced to multitask at the same time. So doesn't that become a challenge sometimes?
Yes, it most definitely does become a challenge, but I think it's important for us as mothers to better manage our time so that when our children are speaking to us, then we are not on our phones, because this is sending them the message that they are not important to us.
Yeah. So I think what you're saying, Maidah, is that we need to be really mindful of, you know, what signals or messages, both verbal and non-verbal, that we're sending out to our children. And I think it's particularly important for us to be mindful of this in times of disagreement and conflict. And, you know, let's face it, these things do happen, especially these days when children are encouraged to think more critically and they are more opinionated. There are bound to be times, you know, when we are in disagreement.
And to express themselves.
With them.
Yes.
Exactly.
And it's particularly at times when we are emotionally charged or excited that we need to be more mindful of how we are communicating with our children.
Exactly. So, you know, 1500 years ago, before any of the fancy new modern theories on conflict resolution and communication came about, our beloved master, the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, gave us some golden words of advice. Think before you speak, and keep in check your emotional reactions, such as anger. And these days, there are so many self-help books that confirm what the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us centuries ago. For example, there is a book called The Chimp Paradox by Dr. Steve Peters, and he suggests that we need to think very carefully about choosing the right words when we are having conversations with others. And he highlights that particularly in times of disagreement and conflict, we should choose our words very carefully. So for example, we should avoid using extreme words. So instead of saying, I hate this, or I can't stand this, we should say, I am not keen on this. And immediately, you
Tone
evoke
it down a little.
Yeah, and you evoke less of an emotional reaction in the listener. And immediately, the atmosphere, the whole atmosphere of the conversation becomes a lot calmer.
Yeah. And I think that it's clear that in building a good, healthy parent-child relationship, respect is the key, right? And if we address our children with respect, they in turn will respect us as parents. And I'm reminded of the tradition of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he said, "Akramu awladakum," respect your children.
Absolutely. And it's really remarkable, Munaza, how, the high level of consideration for the feelings of children that there is in Islam and respect for the feelings of children. For example, a companion of the promised Messiah, alayhi salam, relates that he was just 7 or 8 years old when some boys at school started making fun and saying, your Mirza Sahib has claimed to be the Messiah. So when this companion, who, like I said, was just a young boy at the time, approached the promised Messiah alayhi salam about this, Hazur alayhi salam didn't just dismiss him as a young child. Hazur alayhi salam silently got up, went to his room and brought out his latest book, Fatah Islam, Victory of Islam, and said, read this. So as you can see, the feelings and opinions and questions of a small child were respected and taken very seriously by the promised Messiah alayhi salam.
And there's a lesson in that for us as well.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
There's an example which I heard recently regarding Hazrat Muslim Maud radhiyallahu anhu, in that one time he was having a few words with one of his children, and one of his wives, Hazrat Maryam Siddiqa radhiyallahu anha, happened to come by. And even though she only stayed for a couple of seconds, afterwards Hazur radhiyallahu anhu told her that she shouldn't have stayed because the child would have felt embarrassed. So this again emphasizes how much respect a child is given within Islam.
And I do want to emphasize here that, all these key elements that we've just spoken about, love and compassion and respect, these were all taught to us by the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Hazur sallallahu alaihi wasallam's life is full of examples of love and compassion towards children. And one example that comes to my mind is when the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam kissed his grandchild, Hazrat Hassan, and a man who was watching remarked that, I have 10 children and I have never kissed any of them. And to that, the Holy Prophet ﷺ said, one who does not show mercy will not be shown mercy by God. And Hazur, Ayyadahullah Ta'ala bin Nasrihil Aziz, while relating this incident in a Friday sermon, added that showing compassion to children attracts the compassion of Allah. And I thought this was a beautiful commentary of this particular incident.
Absolutely. And I'm actually reminded of another tradition of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or another incident in his life where, as we all know, when he used to offer his prayers, he would take long sajdas or lengthy prostrations during his salat, and his grandchildren would ride on his back while he was doing so. And he never minded, he never got upset or angry at them. So that's also an example for us to follow.
Absolutely. Yes, and it's very similar to the character and life of the promised Messiah alayhi salam as well, where we see that he was never annoyed with his children, no matter how much they disturbed him and his writing work. He never told his children off. He didn't physically beat them. He let his children be children.
Absolutely. And in fact, the promised Messiah alayhi salam believed that it was kind of a shirk to punish children in this way. And Hazur alayhi salam always emphasized to parents to focus on prayer rather than punishment. And once the promised Messiah Islam found out about a man who had been beating his children, and immediately after, the promised Messiah Islam delivered an emotionally charged speech on this topic. And there's the famous incident of when one of the children of the promised Messiah salam repeatedly kept coming to the door of the promised Messiah salam while Hazur salam was working, and he would bang on the door saying, "Abba, open the door." And every time the promised Messiah salam would silently get up, open the door, and the child would just peek in for a second or two and then run back outside, and then a few minutes later he would be back. And a companion of the promised Messiah Islam relates that once this happened 20 times, and not once did the promised Messiah Islam show any kind of annoyance or anger at the child. And I think as parents, as modern parents, there's so much we can learn from this
examples. Absolutely. You know, you've both mentioned that there's key elements in a parent-child relationship, one of them being the expression of love and affection, as we've been discussing. Isn't showing this affection, this expression of appreciation for our children, even more so needed today than ever? Because children are under this pressure in society, or when they go out to schools and by their peers, to be liked and accepted and appreciated all the time.
You know, there is so much peer pressure and competition these days, where our children are always looking for their friends to accept them. And whereas this was always the case in terms of being popular at school, we now live in an age where, where there's social media and their likes are displayed for everyone to see. So it's important for us to always tell our children and to be constantly reassuring them that they are valued, they are loved and liked, and their self-worth and their value is not dependent upon how many likes they have.
That's a great point, Maidah. And as you were talking, I was thinking about how there's a common misconception that as children get older, they need you less. But in fact, every stage in life has its unique challenges and pressures. And I think as children get older, you're not just a parent to them, you kind of become a life coach, as it were.
As well,
exactly.
Yeah, and so it's a point worth noting here that before you can build a strong and healthy parent-child relationship, we have to make sure that our relationship with our spouses is also a healthy one. We have to make sure that there's love and kindness and respect between husband and wife. It's only then that you're
able to set that example for your children, and it reverberates in the atmosphere of the home as a whole.
Yes.
So once these individual relationships have become strong, then the family members will find it appealing to spend time together. What is defined by quality family time? What are some examples?
Well, quality time is really time spent with the family where your focus is on the family. And as a culture, I think we tend to ignore this. We do not prioritize this, and we only spend time on leisure if there is time left over. But I think it's important for us to take time out of our normal routine and spend time doing a fun activity together. So, for example, in my family, we actually enjoy going to escape rooms. And this is a great place for the whole family to come together and work together as a team in solving puzzles and riddles. But we could also be using our normal everyday routine in a more efficient manner, such as family dinner times, or when we are walking our children to school or driving them around. All these times can be used as a bonding time where we are speaking with our children, we are listening to their ideas, but at the same time we are shaping their values and their principles as well.
Absolutely.
You gave some great examples, Maidah, and I just want to point out here that Hazur Ayyadullah Ta'ala bin Nasrihil Aziz has also highlighted the importance of quality family time, and particularly the importance of fathers spending time with their children, because they might not necessarily see it as their responsibility. But Hazur Ayyadullah Ta'ala bin Nasrihil Aziz has pointed out the importance of fathers spending time with their children, particularly with boys, as they get older. And the example that Hazuri, the Ta'ala ibn Nasir Aziz, gave is that fathers should try to spend time outside with their children as much as possible. And that's a great way, because then both children and fathers are away from their screens. And I think that's crucial in this day and age, because you might be in the same room as your child, but if they're sitting next to you playing a video game and you're on your WhatsApp, that's not quality family time, even though you might be in the same room as them.
Absolutely. And there are so many opportunities, like you said, Maidah, as well. One that comes to my mind is when you're helping your children with homework, perhaps. That's an opportunity as well to spend time with them, to learn about what they're learning, and then also teach them at the same time.
Yes.
Right? So before we continue, let's go to the word on the street and listen to what people had to say when we asked them what qualities make a happy family.
You socialize inside your family where it starts there first, and then you take those behaviors into the world. So if you're like you come from a kind and like loving family, and you treat each other with respect, that's where then you will reflect back into the outside world, like outside of your family and outside of your home. And I think a lot of the things that we learn at home, or that we portray on the streets, or we portray at school or at work, are values and things that we learned in the home.
What qualities make a happy family? Togetherness and just being a cohesive unit, and involving the ancestors of your family, sharing stories about your family, and remembering how your family got from where they were to where you are now, and what you as a person in this family can do for your family in the future.
No, indeed, it is these values that we learn from our home, that of respect and kindness, that we then are able to demonstrate and exemplify when we go outside our home and interact with others. We've often heard people say, a family that prays together stays together. What does that mean?
Well, Munaza, in the literal, most obvious sense, it means, offering your prayers in congregation 5 times a day. But I think as Ahmadis, we can broaden its meaning, definitely, because many of the Jamaat activities that we can get involved in as a family are also forms of worship. So, for example, going to Jummahs together, Jalsajat, Ijtimas, preparing for science fairs, sports events, these are things that all families can do together. But I think the most important thing is that if we volunteer as parents for the Jamaat, I think that is key, because not only are we teaching our children about Nizam-e-Jamaat, but we're being excellent role models, and we're teaching them about the value of sacrifice and charity, and the value of sacrificing for your creator. And at the same time, we're reaping in all those blessings for our families if we get them involved as well.
We're spending time together in the meantime.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, we are always in need of Allah's blessings, and again, as Attiya mentioned, there is no better way than spending our time in the remembrance and worship of Allah. And we are fortunate that we belong to a Jamaat where there are so many activities going on. So at the moment, it's Ijtima season. So my daughter was preparing a leaflet, and her father was helping her find references from Al-Islam. And then my littlest was timing her siblings' speeches. So there's lots of things we can be doing at home where we are spending quality time as a family, whilst also in the remembrance of Allah as well.
Indeed, indeed. There are so many opportunities. Jazakallah for that. It brings us to the end of our program, and Jazakallah to our viewers as well. I will end with a prayer from the Holy Quran. My Lord, grant me that I may be grateful for thy favor, which thou hast bestowed upon me and upon my parents, and that I may do such good works as may please thee. And make me and my seed righteous, and I do turn to thee, and truly I am of those who submit to thee. May Allah Almighty accept this prayer in our favor. Ameen. Jazakumullah ta'ala wa ahsan al-jaza. And until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
हर तरफ फिक्र को दौड़ा के, थकाया